At last, an agreement has been reached on a Greek bailout after around 17 hours of talks in Brussels. It took the longest summit session in a decade for European leaders to thrash out a deal, and their relief, well, it was plain to see afterwards. The President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, even took the time to make a little joke as he announced the long-awaited results.
Someone can say that we have an agreement. Leaders have agreed in principle that they are ready to start negotiations on an ESM program, which in other words means continued support for Greece.
Well, here's what we know about the details of the deal. Greece will get an €86 billion bailout for the next 3 years, while $50 billion of its assets will be transferred to a new fund. All of this must pass through the Greek parliament by Wednesday. Let's cross live now to Athens for more. RT's Daniel Hawkins now joining us live from the Greek capital. Good to see you again. An agreement in Brussels. What's next?
Well, as you heard there, Rory, agreement being the catchphrase this morning after more than 15 hours of grueling talks by those finance ministers. It seems Tsipras has finally made a decision between the path of austerity and bailout, or uncertainty and a Grexit. Perhaps a small comfort to him. He announced just now that Greece will avoid sending those 50 billion worth of assets abroad, although that privatization fund will still be created. Very mixed responses, though, from critics and supporters of this deal. The hashtag "This is a coup" trending heavily on Twitter, referring, of course, to the extremely harsh austerity measures that the EU and international creditors have now or will now impose on Greece. EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker seemed more upbeat, however.
You have come under increasing pressure and criticism of being far too harsh on Greece and on its people. You have been accused of staging, in quote, a coup. I just wondered whether you could react to those criticisms.
I said before the referendum that the situation would be worse after the referendum. This has proven to be true, but in this compromise, because it's a compromise, there are no winners and no losers.
Well, no winners and no losers, according to those EU officials. But who are the losers? It's very clear that will be the Greek people, who will almost certainly now face continuing years of austerity on unprecedented levels, despite any bailout funds. What will happen next will depend on the Greek government. The EU ministers can now go home to get some sleep, but Tsipras will have to fly back to the building here behind me, to the Greek parliament, to try to convince his own party, his own government, that this is a deal they should accept. He faces rebellion, and the EU has said that this deal will have to be pushed through and accepted by Parliament within the next 72 hours, by July the 15th. Whether Tsipras can do that or not is at the moment unsure.
Right, RT's Daniel Hawkins live from Athens. Thank you. Well, the Greek Prime Minister has promised the agreement will help his country get on its feet again. But it's obvious Greece will need years to recover from the crisis it's been plunged into.
Mr. Varoufakis, is this a sad day for you, Mr. Varoufakis? Is this a sad day for you? A sad day for Europe.
And an elderly man sobbing outside of a Greek bank after he failed to withdraw his pension. This picture illustrating how tough the debt crisis has been for ordinary Greeks. The picture, shot by an AFP photographer, it went around the world and eventually reached Australian James Kufus, who recognised the pensioner as an old family friend and decided to help. He told RT he's offering support not just to the pensioner in the picture, but actually to many others in need as well.
And our concern was what we could actually do to help the people of Greece. So we've tried to look at different avenues, which was obviously raising money from my own personal funds, my company funds, and then going to social media and seeing what we could do. And the response has been enormous. We want to be able to do whatever we can to make sure that people aren't hungry or don't have shelter. So, you know, it's been a huge shock, very traumatic for all, very emotional. Australians have been very supportive, especially Greek Australians, towards the cause. So we're looking to do things both for the gentleman, Yoros Hadzavedakis, but also, which is the pensioner involved, but also for charities. And we look forward to going to Greece and handing over money to them directly, probably cash at this stage.
In the meantime, Greek banks remain closed and ATMs are being drained of cash, with the current withdrawal limit €60 a day. And local developers have come up with a Find an ATM app which tracks cash machines with smaller queues and gives information on the type of euro notes available at different locations. The non-profit app has already been downloaded around 7,000 times. Now, as the Eurozone summit wrapped up, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel admitted that relations between Athens and Brussels have deteriorated, but that trust can be regained. We'll be closely following the situation on air and online. Do stay with us if you can on RT International.